He slid $2 across the marble counter. $2. One bill folded in half. 3/4. 2 dimes. A nickel. Eugene Holt stood at the front desk of the Grand Meridian Hotel in a coat that had been expensive once. His shoes were worn through at the right heel. His hands were clean. He had found a gas station bathroom 3 blocks away and washed them before he came in. The young woman at the desk, Ashley, her name tag said, looked at the money on the counter. Then at Eugene. Eugene said, "Good evening. I am looking for a room for the night. I have $2. I know that is not much. I was hoping you might have something. Anything. Even somewhere to sit until morning." Ashley opened her mouth. That was when Craig appeared. He came from the back office with the practiced walk of a man used to deciding who belonged in a room. He looked at Eugene. He looked at the $2 on the counter. He said, "Sir, our rooms start at $189 a night." Eugene said, "I understand that. I only have $2. I was hoping." Craig cut him off. "This is not a shelter." He said it pleasantly, professionally. The way a person says something cruel after learning how to dress cruelty in the language of policy. 2 guests at the far end of the counter looked over. Craig said, "I am going to have to ask you to leave. You are making our guests uncomfortable." Eugene said, "I have not said a word to your guests. Sir, I will not ask again." Ashley made a small sound behind the desk. A laugh that escaped before she could stop it. Eugene looked at her. Then at Craig. Then at the $2 on the counter. He picked them up, folded the bill carefully, put everything back into his coat pocket. He said, "Have a good evening." He pushed through the revolving door and stepped back out into the Detroit rain. By morning, that lobby was going to remember him very differently. Because 24 hours earlier, Eugene Holt had stopped to help someone on the side of the road. And the woman he helped was about to drive past this hotel on her way to work. 24 hours earlier. Michigan Avenue. Tuesday night. 11 p.m. The rain had been falling since 7 and showed no sign of stopping. Eugene was walking. He walked everywhere now. He had been walking everywhere for 2 years. Detroit was a city built for cars, but he had learned its distances on foot, which blocks had working streetlights, which churches left their doorways unlocked, which restaurants put their unsold food out at closing. He saw the hazard lights from half a block away. A black sedan pulled onto the shoulder. A woman standing at the front left tire in a gray coat, looking at it the way people look at problems they know how to identify but not how to solve. Eugene walked 10 steps past her. Then he stopped. Then he turned around. He said, "Ma'am, you need help with that?" She looked up. Soaked coat. Worn shoes. The kind of man that most people in this city had learned not to make eye contact with after dark. She said, "I called for help. They said 45 minutes. He said, "It is raining hard. I can have that changed in 10 minutes. You do not have to wait." She looked at him for a moment. Something in the way he said it. Not pushing. Just stating a fact the way a person states a fact when they have a skill and someone needs it. She said, "Okay." Eugene took off his coat, folded it, set it on the roof of the car. He was already soaked through. Taking it off was practical. He needed to move freely. He changed the tire in 9 minutes. His hands knew the work. They had known it since he was 16 in his father's driveway in Inkster, Michigan, changing tires on a 1978 Buick, while his father said a man who could not fix his own car was not much of a man. He stood up, checked the lug nuts one more time. He said, "That will hold. Get it looked at properly in the morning." She said, "Thank you. What do I owe you?" He said, "Nothing. You do not owe me anything." She reached into her bag. She had cash, but it was all hundreds. She checked the zippered pocket inside. Found $2. Old coins and a folded bill. She held it out. She said, "It is all I have that is small enough. I am sorry. Thank you. Genuinely." Eugene looked at the $2. He said, "That is more than enough. Thank you, ma'am." He meant it. Not because $2 was enough money. It was not. He knew that. He meant it because she had not looked at him with pity. She had looked at him like a person who had done something useful. He had not felt that in a long time. She drove away. She did not know his name. She did not know where he was going. She did not know that the $2 in his pocket were about to become the most important small amount of money in both their lives. Eugene watched her tail lights disappear into the rain. He put the $2 in his coat pocket. He started walking toward the Grand Meridian Hotel. The jeweler store across the street had a deep entrance alcove. 4 feet of overhead cover. A dry strip of concrete. Eugene sat down against the door. He pulled his coat tighter and looked at the hotel across the street. The warm light in the windows. A couple checking out under the awning. The ordinary machinery of a world that had quietly decided he was not part of it. He was not angry about it. Anger cost energy he did not have. He had stopped sustaining anger a long time ago. He put his hand in his coat pocket. He felt the $2. He thought about the woman in the rain. The way she had said genuinely like she meant the whole word. Samantha used to say it that way. Only when she meant it completely. She said it the night he proposed in the parking lot of a Coney Island restaurant in Dearborn because he had planned something better and it had fallen through and he had panicked and done it there in the February cold. Ring in his pocket, no speech prepared. She had said, "I am genuinely going to say yes to you right now, Eugene Holt. Genuinely. 31 years of marriage. Then 11 months beside her hospital bed. Then a house that still smelled like her and no idea what to do with himself. He had tried. 8 months back at work. Sunday calls to Renee. The right motions in the right order. But grief had a way of finding the seams in a person. The places where something was always held together by something else. Samantha had been the something else. The gambling started in Windsor, across the river. Just once. Just to feel something other than a Sunday evening alone. Then twice. Then he stopped counting. By the time he understood what was happening, the house was gone. The savings. The career. Renee had stopped calling 3 years ago. She had tried everything first. Showed up at his door, sent letters, called his former colleagues. Her messages got longer and more desperate and then shorter and more final and then nothing. She had a daughter now. Amani. 5 years old. He had met her once, barely, when she was 2, in the last weeks before Renee went silent. He did not know what her laugh sounded like. He did not know if she had Samantha's hands. Samantha never got to meet her. That was the detail that came to him sometimes in the dark. Somewhere in this city, a 5-year-old girl was growing up without knowing her grandfather existed. He imagined her sometimes, curious, serious-eyed, the way Renee had been at that age. He did not know if the image was accurate. He hoped one day he would find out. He had made wreckage of his life. He had not made wreckage of his character. He held the $2 in his hand and looked at the light coming through the hotel windows. He closed his eyes. He slept. Diane Mercer drove past the Grand Meridian Hotel at 7:43 in the morning. She drove this route every day. She liked to see the city wake up. Detroit had a particular quality in the early hours, a resilience that was easiest to see before the day fully started. She was 2 blocks past the hotel when something made her check the rearview mirror. She saw the alcove. She saw the coat. She made a U-turn at the next intersection. She pulled up in front of the jeweler store and got out. Eugene was awake. He had been awake since 6. He saw her coming and recognized her immediately. She stopped in front of him. She said, "You are the man from last night. The tyre." He said, "Yes, ma'am." She looked at him, then at the hotel across the street, then back at him. She said, "Did you sleep here?" He said, "Yes, ma'am. All night." A pause. She said, "What happened?" Eugene had learned over 2 years on the streets to read people quickly. To know within the first few seconds whether someone was asking because they wanted to help or because they wanted the story. He had gotten very accurate at this. Diane Mercer was asking because she wanted to help. He said, "I went to the hotel across the street. I had $2. The money you gave me. I asked if they had a room. They sent me back out." She said, "That was all you had?" He said, "Yes, ma'am." She said, "How long have you been on the streets?" He said, 2 years. She said, "Before that?" He said, "Financial analyst. 22 years. University of Michigan. I had a house and a career and a daughter. I had a wife named Samantha who died 8 years ago and I did not handle it well. She said, the gambling. He looked at her. She said, you do not have to explain it. Grief finds a door. He was quiet. Nobody had said it like that before. Most people said it like a verdict. She said it like a fact. Grief finds a door. The way weather finds a crack. She said, what is your name? He said, Eugene. Eugene Holt. She said, I am Diane Mercer. He said, I know. I recognized you this morning. I knew who you were last night too. I was not going to say anything. Your company employs a lot of people in this city. I used to read the business section. Old habit. Something changed in the way she looked. She said, come with me, Eugene. He said, ma'am, you do not have to. She said, I know I do not have to. That is why I am going to. She said, you changed my tire in the rain with nothing to gain from it. You slept in a doorway all night and the first thing you said to me this morning was yes, ma'am. Not please help me. She said, you do not need pity, Eugene. You need one clear road and the chance to walk it. He looked at her for a long moment. He stood up. He said, okay. The eatery was 2 blocks from the hotel. Corner booth. Real coffee. Eggs and toast. Eugene ate slowly at first. The way a man eats when his body has learned not to trust the next meal. Then something shifted and he ate properly. Steadily. Diane watched him and did not rush him. When he finished, she put both hands around her coffee cup and looked at him directly. She said, I want to ask you something. I need you to answer honestly. He said, all right. She said, if I offered you a path, not money, not a handout, an actual path, would you take it? Rehab first. Then whatever comes after. Would you do the work? Eugene looked at his empty plate. He said, 3 years ago I would have said yes and been lying. I was still telling myself stories then. He said, I ran out of stories. He looked at her. He said, if you offered me a path I would take it. Not because I deserve it. Because I have a granddaughter named Imani who is 5 years old and does not know who I am. And I would like the chance to change that before it is too late. Diane looked at him for a moment. She said, good. I can work with the truth. She said, Elite Cargo has a rehab program. We have used it for employees who needed it. I trust it. I have seen it work. She said, after that we figure out the next step. One thing at a time. Eugene said, why are you doing this? She said, because you stopped in the rain for me when you did not have to. And because I grew up in this city and I know what it does to people when nobody stops. When everyone keeps walking. She paid the bill. They walked out into the morning. The barbershop on Gresham Avenue had been there since 1987. The man who ran it asked no questions. He simply looked at Eugene and got to work. 40 minutes. Eugene looked in the mirror when it was done. He tried to keep his face still. Failed him. For a moment he was 53 again. Before everything. The clothing store was 3 blocks away. Dark trousers. A white shirt. A jacket that fit. Shoes that would last. Eugene stood in the changing room and held the white shirt for a moment before he put it on. He folded his old coat neatly and set it in the corner. He walked out. They walked into the Grand Meridian Hotel at 10:15 in the morning. Together. The lobby was busy with checkout traffic. A dozen guests with luggage. A family near the elevator. Business travelers near the door. Ashley was at the front desk. Craig was beside her, reviewing something on a screen. Craig looked up when the door opened. He saw Eugene first. Recognition hit and his expression shifted into uncertainty. Then he saw the woman beside him. His face changed completely. Diane Mercer was not an unknown face in Detroit. Her company employed 3,400 people in this city. Her name was on a building 4 blocks away. Craig knew exactly who she was. But Diane did not use any of that. She walked to the front desk and spoke in a voice that was not raised but carried clearly to every corner of that lobby. She said, last night this man came into your hotel in the rain. He had $2. He asked for a room or even just somewhere to sit until morning. Craig opened his mouth. She said, I am not finished. The lobby slowed. Not stopped, but slowed. The way a room slows when something real is happening and people's bodies know it before their minds catch up. She said, "You mocked him. Both of you. You sent him back out into the rain to sleep on the street across from your front door. On concrete. In November." She said, "I know his name. His name is Eugene Holt. He has a degree from the University of Michigan. He worked in finance for 22 years. He lost his wife. He lost his way. And last night, while he was trying to find it again with the only $2 he had in the world, you laughed at him." Ashley had stopped looking at anything in the room. Her eyes were fixed on the desk in front of her. The laugh from the night before was somewhere inside her right now being something very different. She was 23 years old, and she was going to remember this morning for a very long time. Craig said nothing. Diane said, "I am not going to report you. I am not going to call your employer. Because consequences are not the point. Understanding is," she said. "The $2 in his pocket last night were mine. I gave them to him because he stopped in the rain at 11 o'clock at night to change my flat tire when he had nothing. He helped me when he had absolutely nothing to gain from helping me. And then he walked 6 blocks to your hotel and tried to use those $2 to buy himself one night out of the rain." She said, "That is the man you laughed at." One guest near the elevator had stopped walking entirely. Just standing there, listening. She said, "You never know who you are looking at. You never know what a person has been through or what they are capable of becoming. The man you laughed at last night is one of the most decent people I have met in a long time. You did not see that. You saw a coat and a pair of worn shoes and you made a decision." She looked at Craig directly. She said, "Treat people better. That is all. Just treat people better. Because the day will come when you need someone to look at you and see past what is visible. And you will want them to do better than you did last night." The lobby was completely quiet. She reached into her bag. She counted out cash onto the counter. 7 nights. She slid a key across to Eugene. She said, "Room 412. Eugene Holt. He is a guest of this hotel. He gets the same service as everyone else who walks through that door. Are we clear?" Craig said, "Yes, ma'am." Ashley said, "Yes, ma'am." She said it quietly, without looking up. There was something in the way she said it that was not quite the same as anything she had said the night before. Diane turned to Eugene. He was looking at the key on the counter. She said, 1 week. That gives us time to get the intake appointment arranged. You are not on the street tonight." He picked up the key. He said, "Thank you, Diane." She said, "You are welcome, Eugene." She walked out. Eugene stood in the lobby for a moment. He did not look at Craig. He did not look at Ashley. He walked to the elevator and pressed the button for the 4th floor. Room 412 was clean and quiet. A window that looked out at the Detroit skyline. The Ambassador Bridge lit against the gray November sky. Eugene sat on the edge of the bed. He put the key on the nightstand. He put the $2 beside it. He looked at them both for a long time. Then he put his face in his hands. Not from shame this time. From something he had not let himself feel in years because feeling it cost too much when there was nowhere to put it. Tonight he had somewhere to put it. He said softly, to the space where he kept her, "I am going to be okay, Samantha. I think I am finally going to be okay." The intake appointment was on a Friday. Diane drove him herself. The counselor's name was Dr. Anthony. He had been sober for 11 years and did not make a point of mentioning it unless it was useful. He looked at Eugene's file, then at Eugene. He said, "Tell me why now." Eugene said, "Because I have a granddaughter I have never properly met." Dr. Anthony said, "How old?" Eugene said, 5. He said, "What is her name?" Eugene said, "Imani." Dr. Anthony wrote something down. He said, "What does Imani mean?" Eugene said, "It means faith." Dr. Anthony looked up from the paper. He said, "All right, Mr. Holt. Let us get to work." 90 days. Eugene did not miss a single session. He showed up on days when showing up felt like carrying something he was not sure he could lift. He showed up on the day that would have been Samantha's birthday. He sat in the group room that day and a man named Leonard, who had been a high school football coach, talked about his son, and Eugene listened and understood that grief was not a competition. The point was not to compare losses. The point was to carry yours honestly. Week 7 was the hard week. There was a man in the facility named Douglas. He had been in and out 3 times. He said in a group session that he had decided this time was going to be different, just like the last time and the time before. He said it with the exhaustion of someone who no longer quite believed his own words. That night, Eugene lay in his room thinking about Douglas. He picked up the phone. He almost called Renee. He put it down. Not yet. He was not ready to be someone she should answer yet. He needed to be further along the road before he knocked on that door. He was not going to show up asking for forgiveness until he had something real to show for the asking. That was not pride. That was respect. The kind of respect you show someone by not asking them to trust you before you have earned it. He put the phone down and he went to sleep and he got up in the morning. That was the week that mattered most. Not the weeks that were easy. That one. He came out on a Thursday morning in November. Diane was in the parking lot. She had told him she would be there. She was there. He got in the car. She said, Wayne State University. Evening program. Business administration. 2 years. You can use most of your existing credits. 3 nights a week. He said, Diane, I want to pay you back properly. Every dollar. She said, then earn it. When you are ready, come to me with work I cannot say no to. Do not ask me for a favor. Show me what you can do. He said, that is what I am going to do. She said, there is an apartment on the east side. Clean and safe. 6 months while you find your footing. After that you stand alone. He said, after that I stand alone. Wayne State University. Evening program. Business administration. Midway through the 2nd year there was an assignment. A full financial analysis of a fictional mid-size company. The kind of assignment that separated the students who understood numbers from the students who had lived inside them for decades. Eugene had lived inside them for 22 years. He spent 3 days on it. Not because it was hard. Because he wanted to be certain. Because he had learned in the past 2 years that the difference between doing something and doing something right was the only difference that mattered. His professor, Dr. Azari, called him in the following week. She said, how long have you been out of the industry? He said, 8 years. She said, it does not read like 8 years. It reads like 8 weeks. He said, I spent 8 years trying to forget a lot of things. The numbers were not one of them. She looked at him for a moment. She said, when you graduate, what are you going to do? He said, open something small. Something I can build honestly. She said, this city needs that more than it needs another consultant. He walked out of her office and stood in the hallway and thought about a marble counter and $2 and a revolving door in the rain. He went home. He opened his textbooks. He got back to work. He graduated on a Saturday morning in May. The ceremony was in the Ford Community and Performing Arts Center. Hundreds of people. The smell of new suits and other people's perfume and the particular electricity of people who have worked hard for something and are about to receive proof of it. Eugene sat in the 3rd row of graduates and waited for his name. He thought about Renee. He had not called her yet. He was not ready. He wanted to have more to show first. Not to impress her. To deserve her trust. There is a difference between those 2 things, and he had learned it the hard way. He thought about Imani. Somewhere in this city, growing up without knowing he existed. He thought about Samantha. He thought, I did something. I hope you can see it. His name was called. He walked across the stage. He took the diploma. He held it in his lap when he sat back down and looked at it for a long time. 61 years old. His 2nd degree. He had lost everything and come back through the front door with his hands clean and his mind intact. Holt Financial Solutions opened on the 1st of September. A small office on Woodward Avenue. 3 rooms. A glass door with his name in black letters. 3 employees, 2 recent graduates from the Wayne State Network, and a woman named Carol who had 30 years in accounting and wanted to work somewhere that actually helped people instead of just processing their paperwork. On the wall behind his desk he hung the $2. Not as a decoration, as evidence. The bill, the coins, mounted on white card behind glass in a simple black frame. Carol saw it on the first day. She said, what is the story? He said, a long one. I will tell you sometime. She said, I will hold you to that. She was, as he would learn, a woman who paid attention to things she was not asked to pay attention to, who made connections between people when she thought those connections needed making, who operated on the principle that the world ran better when the people who should know each other actually knew each other. 3 months after the doors opened, she made a phone call she did not mention to Eugene. Someone received a name and an address and a reason to consider walking through a door. The rest was up to Renee. It was a Tuesday in March when the door to Holt Financial Solutions opened and Renee walked in. He did not know she was coming. She stood in the doorway for a moment. 33 years old. Her mother's jaw. Her father's eyes. She was holding the hand of a small girl in a yellow coat who was looking around the office with the particular curiosity of a 5-year-old who finds everything in the world endlessly interesting and has not yet been taught to stop staring at things. Eugene stood up from his desk. He and Renee looked at each other across the room. A long silence. Not empty. Full. The kind of silence that contains years of things that could not be said in any form except being in the same room finally. Renee said, I heard you graduated. He said, in May. She said, I heard you opened a business. He said, September. She said, Carol called me. He said, I did not ask her to. She said, I know you did not. She looked at him carefully. The way a person looks when they have been disappointed enough times that hope has become something they approach with caution. She was checking, looking for the man she remembered underneath the version of him she had last seen 3 years ago, which had been barely anyone at all. What she found was not the wreckage. She said, you look like Dad again. He said, I have been trying to. She said, how long? He said, 90 days in the program. 2 years at Wayne State. 6 months building this. She said, you did all of that. He said, I had help at the start. And then I did it. Another silence. Imani had been watching this exchange with the attention of a child who understands something important is happening even without knowing the details. She pulled on Renee's hand. She said, Mama? Who is that man? Renee looked down at her daughter. She said, that is your grandfather, baby. Imani looked at Eugene with wide, serious eyes. She said, Grandpa? He said, yes. She considered this with the gravity a 5-year-old brings to important discoveries. She said, why are you at work? He said, because I have a job to do. She said, what kind of job? He said, I help people with their numbers. She said, I know numbers. Up to 100. He said, that is impressive. She looked around the office. Then she walked past Renee, past Eugene, straight to the wall behind his desk, and stood on her toes to look at the frame. She said, what is that? Eugene came and stood beside her. He said, $2. She said, why is it on the wall? He said, because a kind woman gave it to me on a very hard night. And when I used it and it was not enough, she found me the next morning and helped me find my way back. She said, so you keep it so you do not forget? He said, so I do not forget. She thought about this carefully. She said, my teacher says we should not forget important things. He said, your teacher is right. She nodded, satisfied. She turned around and walked back to Renee and took her hand. Renee was looking at her father. Her eyes were wet. She was not hiding it. She said, I am not going to pretend 3 years did not happen. I am not going to pretend it was not what it was. He said, I know. She said, but I am here. He said, I know. She said, I am going to need some time. He said, I have time. I am not going anywhere. She said, Mom would be glad. He said, I know she would. Imani looked up at her mother. She said, Mama, can we come back? Renee looked at her father. He looked at his daughter, at the small girl in the yellow coat, at the $2 on the wall. He said, yes, you can come back. Imani said, good. She looked at the frame one more time. She said, I like your $2, Grandpa. He said, I like them too. He looked at the frame on the wall after they left. The bill, the coins, behind glass. The worst night of his life had become the marker of his return. Not the diploma, not the business license, not the client list. Those were proof of what he had done. The $2 were proof of where it started. with a woman who stopped her car in the rain, with a man who folded a bill carefully and washed his hands before asking for help and said have a good evening to the people who laughed at him and walked back out into the rain with his dignity intact. They reminded him that falling is not the same thing as being finished. Eugene Holt sat back down at his desk. He opened the next file. He got back to work. Diane did not just help Eugene get off the street. She helped him get back to himself. And in the end, that was what made everything else possible. Not just the room, not just rehab, not just the degree, not just the business. Renee walking through that door. Imani asking about the $2. A little girl in a yellow coat saying, "I like your $2, Grandpa." That was the part that mattered most. So let me ask you something. What was the real turning point in Eugene's story? Was it the night Diane stopped her car in the rain? The morning she walked back into that hotel beside him? Or the day his daughter and granddaughter walked into his office and gave him something even harder to earn? A way back into the family he thought he had lost? Drop your honest answer in the comments right now. And if this story taught you something about kindness, humanity, love and family, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Subscribe to Storytelling Empire. New stories every week. Can't wait to see you in the next story. Love you.